Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Proverbs with Paul in the afternoon on this rather rainy but quite warm day. Being a blessing. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 5. Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards himself will be far from them. Thorns, that's the prickly things, are in the way of the perverse. The perverse are those things that are said but that are not quite true. A bit like when you say to a little puppy dog who's tiny, "Oh, you're a big boy," when it's just a little boy. The perverse things, saying things that aren't quite true. And Solomon recognized that the thorns are in the way of the perverse. That's someone who doesn't speak with the truth in their tongue. So they present something that appears to be true, but it isn't true. And they know it isn't true. And they're using maybe a humor to convey something, but it's not true. And so there's a deception at work. It's almost like that pot of stew. There's death in that stew, said the prophet. And so we need to make sure that the words we speak are not perverse, because thorns are in the way of the perverse, meaning that you're likely to get stung by the deception, or if you like, the death that's in those words. Even though if you was to analyze the words, there's nothing particularly wrong with what's being said. But there's a whole lot of things being said in the sublime. And so we need to be careful not to be caught up in the deceptions of those who are like that. It says, but he who guards himself will not be caught up in them. There will be a protection. And the guarding of oneself is being mindful of, as it were, the hook within the perverse statement that's been made. Whenever someone ever tells you something, the purpose of telling is for the information contained in the saying. But there's always a reason for saying those things. And the sensitivity that's required in the guarding of oneself and listening to the people who are saying things to us. And we live in a world where so much is being said. And we need to make sure that we're not taking on board what we might call the Pharisaic yeast that will ultimately leaven the whole lump of dough. Meaning, if you take on wrong teachings from the perverse thinkers, then you will be caught up in their snare and you will be held captive by the poison that they've sown into you. Thank you for joining me. Be blessed. Have a great afternoon, evening, weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.